to ensure that everybody can hear our presenter and hopefully avoid any technical difficulties, I'll ask that you please mute yourself by pressing *# or the mute feature on your phone. I'll also go in after we get started here and also mute folks, but it always helps if you mute yourself. I want to ask you to please share any questions, comments, reactions in the chat pod on the next screen. Once we pull it up, it's going to be in the lower left-hand corner, and we'll be sure to field those either throughout the presentation or definitely at the end. Again, I'll share the recording and the transcript and any presentation materials after the webinar. And it's my pleasure to introduce Gina Solberg. She's the Director of Employment Services at Provail in Washington State. And Gina was so good to come to Iowa this past year and work with your fellow Iowans at the Recruit, Train, Retain Leadership Series. And I'm going to hand it over to Gina. She can tell you a little bit more about herself and Provail, and we'll get started.
Hi everyone, this is Gina, and it's a pleasure to be with you for folks that I was able to meet in Iowa last fall. And I welcome any questions that people have, so feel free to bring those questions in. I'm going to do a walkthrough of some of the strategies and tools that have been helpful for our agency as we've really focused exclusively on community-based employment over the last 15 plus years. And I've been with Provail for 13 years, and previously to that I was Program Director for Residential Services for Individuals with Autism in Minneapolis, and grew up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, so Midwest girl. And it's been fun to see the community evolution of services and be able to be a part of that here in Washington State. So we've definitely built off of the services that our leaders before us started the path. So I'll jump right to it. So a little bit about our services. We have multi-services, over 300 employees at Provail, 50 people on the employment team. But we provide mobility and communication services as well as supported living services. We have an art program as well as our community employment. So we come from a multi-service agency, which I think is similar to a lot of other folks out there. And again, our team, we have grown. When I started with Provail 13 years ago, there's about 8 of us and a director. And we've grown to 50 team members and 4 regional teams, each with a program manager. We've also added 2 quality assurance coordinator positions that help with training, with team support, and with floating if we are short-staffed or if we have somebody leave and need to cover shifts, things like that. So those are a few of the positions that we've added over time that have helped us provide services in the community as seamlessly as possible. So we're not always there with people out and about in their jobs to be able to just jump in. So we've built those support teams to help make that happen. We provide individual employment, so that's community-based employment services, competitive wages, as well as a school-to-work program. And we currently work with about 40 students that are coming out of school through a program that overlaps services the last year of students' school year, and with the job of Jobs by June. And we usually have about at least 85% employment rate for the students when they leave school. So it's always fun. We're getting closer and closer to graduation time, which is my favorite time of the year, where all the students talk about their jobs. We're also involved in a Special Easterna program, a Danish-based program that is helping individuals with autism get connected to tech positions. And so we are partnering with Microsoft on that. So that's a little picture of our team. After a planning retreat, we were out doing some mini golf. It was a rainy day in Seattle, if you can imagine. So for me, I think having services that are out in the community, it's really hard to see what people are doing every minute of the day. So we really rely on the people that we hire. For me, I think the hiring process is the most important part of our jobs, is recruiting the right people, that whole idea of having the right people on the bus. So what we're looking for is not only do they have the talents that can generalize to this position of employment consultant, but also are they a good fit for our culture? So we're really looking for people that will have an independent voice, bring up ideas, ask questions, support each other, be open to trying new things, not be afraid to make mistakes and talk about them. That's really something that people need to do in order for us to continue to kind of push the limits on what community jobs can look like and how to expand hours for people and get more creative with positions. And also people that are goal-oriented and positive, they see the possibilities in everything. So we really gear our recruiting process towards hiring the right people that are going to succeed in a job that's very independent and community-based. So as well as, even though there's communication and collaboration, often, people are responsible for their own caseload and have that independence of being able to manage their schedule and interact and communicate with all of the players. So, and also people that will thrive in a changing environment. We are cloud-based in all of our paperwork and mobile. We provide people with cell phone reimbursements for data plans because people are using their phones on the fly. We provide Chromebooks so that people have laptop and Wi-Fi access in the community so they can pull up information they need wherever they are, and have instant access to the job information, the paperwork that they're going to need to do. So again, finding folks that are going to thrive in that sort of environment. And we have an open space for our office since we are, people are out and about, probably 80% of the day and are just popping into the office. So we've moved from having designated desks as we've grown to common space and open space where there's kind of cafe-style setups where people can sit and brainstorm and chat, or just drop into a computer and anybody can use any computer, any desk. We went through an experiential testing process where we set up different options before we did that so that people could have a say in what worked, what didn't work, what were they worried about, and then based off the feedback, created a space that would have the different things people were looking for. And the newest thing with our business or our building remodel is adding in phone booths. So open space is nice, people can collaborate, but they also sometimes need to close the door and have private conversations. So we're adding a couple phone booths with tables for two so we can have small meetings and things like that. So really we're changing the way our physical building looks and what those needs are. So that has been well received and that has worked well. And so since people are really working independently and it can be a job where you feel like you're in a silo, we really try to bring people together to work together across the team. And so a few ways we do that is just doing different activities and exercises, getting together to learn different team members, strengths, talents, what motivates them, having an appreciation plan in place that really recognizes the work that's happening. Because it can feel like that's not being recognized, so I think we've really put a strong emphasis in that appreciation plan, being really intentional about that. And there's plenty of opportunities for people to provide information about how to improve what we're doing, how to make changes, what our goals are going to be, and those come in weekly team meetings. And again, they're by regional team, so there's really a feeling of brainstorming and collaboration in those meetings, as well as recognizing successes and challenges. Sometimes it's just talking about what the challenges are too. We have different surveys that we've used, different assessment tools that have just been little spot checks of how things are going. CommunityActivators.org has some great assessment tools. There's a HOPE assessment that's very good. There's a very short one on teamwork. And you can get just a feel for where things are at with the team. And we've also looked at what kind of growth opportunities can help this be a rewarding career for people. And again, that's playing off of people's strengths. Having mentors, that's where people are really learning the most. people having opportunities for public sector development, having different business accounts, us exploring assistive technology, things like that. So we've created some new positions around that. And then making sure that, again, we're getting feedback and it's interactive in terms of how things are going out in the community when we're not in a all in one place to be able to see directly every piece of work that's happening. We have a 90-day check-in and a self-evaluation survey that people complete so we can see where are they feeling comfortable, where do they want a little more support or training, and continue that as an ongoing conversation. And building off of that, I really like the first break all the rules, 12 questions. We get a lot of information from that around how we can make sure we're providing the tools, the resources, and the support for people to feel successful in their jobs. So I'm just going to pop over to another screen here for a second and show you a couple of those. So here is a 90-day review tool. Hoping people can see that.
Hey, Gina, this is Jess, so I can't see it.
You can't? Okay.
No. I'm wondering, did you go to that pod options box?
I believe I did.
Okay, I'm wondering if part of the problem is I see you've signed in twice. I wonder if you're on the screen share that we can't see, because I've got you in as Gina Solberg and Gina Solberg 2. So if you've got two windows open, two Adobe windows open with the presentation in it, close one of them.
All right, that was it. Okay.
There you go. Okay, now, and then I think you might have to do that one more time, the pod option screen share.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, no worries. There we go. It's loading.
Okay, when technology is your friend. So here's our 90-day review. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to move the screen so it looks a little bigger, but it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So just, again, that point of checking in to see where consultants are. We want to make sure they feel like they're getting to a point of mastery in their position. And
Gina, let me pull up the PowerPoint for you again. I see it's not going to be easy for us. There you go. And you will have to, they're perfect. It's pulled up your current slide.
okay, great. All right. And so in addition to making sure people are able to master their position and understand the tasks involved and have the tools they need to be successful, really focus on what is the vision of what we're doing and being very goal and outcome oriented. And we really have found that our culture really rallies around the goals that we set. Sometimes they feel lofty and hard to accomplish, and then people take a second to process that, and then they move on to how are we going to make it happen? What's it going to take? How are we going to get there? And it's really helped push us to helping more people get jobs. So really, everybody does mean everybody. That's something that we feel very strongly about. So being very creative in the types of jobs and sharing information about what those jobs look like, what the tasks are, what are the proposals that were used, what is the job analysis and needs analysis information around those positions. So we talk a lot about keeping the main thing. And so our working age adult policy, our employment first policy, came out in 2006. And while we even, at the time believed in employment for all, our services weren't necessarily wrapped around that. There was pathway to employment, community access, and employment, and people were put into these different buckets. And this was really let's intentionally focus on employment for everybody. And it did help us think of new ways of doing business and challenge us to get better at what we were doing. And so this came out of a conference forum that we had to focus on our working age adult policy, and went from the impossible to possible, and you can kind of see it through here, to the same standard as everyone else. It's really what we're striving for. So this is just talking about making sure we're keeping the vision alive and the purpose of what we're doing on the forefront at all times. So to the point of results-oriented, we do have, in addition to people's salaries, we do have bonuses for reaching outcomes. So we've tried different things. We have had individual job placement bonuses in the past, and then we've had assist bonuses for individuals that are helping share a lead that leads to a job for someone else, another consultant, somebody on their caseload. We decided to get rid of the individual bonuses last summer and have gone to all team-oriented bonuses. So we have full team bonuses that are based off of job retention, career advancement in either hours or wages, as well as new jobs. And every 6 months that rolls up into a bonus that each employee gets. And then regional teams, so we have those 4 regional teams, and they all had a career advancement goal of, this year it was 15% increase in the hours people worked. That's an area we've really been focusing on. And all teams have reached that goal too. So it really helps keep the main thing, and focused on what are we trying to accomplish with our services. And the team appreciation, we are really spend time recognizing new jobs and how do we get there, sharing the story of how they get there. It can be encouraging for folks that are maybe struggling with a tough day and then hear a story of success and a path to get there. Sharing, celebrating the hours and wages that people are getting, and that's often through emails. We do a lot of correspondence through emails to share that information. We also have a wall of dashboard information and success stories and new jobs and where those businesses are, so people can always see visually in our space what that looks like. And sharing the anniversaries of people's jobs, we really want to both recognize people that are getting new jobs and also people that are helping to preserve jobs and grow jobs. And then we got different rituals around new hires, welcoming them to the team, and working with their mentors to make sure they feel included and welcomed. So this is an example of just a small, brief dashboard report for the different teams. And we're looking at hours, wages, number employed, percentage employed, and the number of people towards their career advancement goal. Just a brief snapshot that can be shared. So with our consultants, I think it's important to have really clear expectations of what each of them are responsible for. They all manage their own schedule, their calendar, their appointments. Often that autonomy aspect is something that's really attractive about the position to the people we hire. They like a job where they're trusted to do their job and do their job well. They know what the outcome is, and how they get there is really up to them, and they like that space to carve their own path. Since there's not as we know, one way to do it. So we just specify a sort of service range. Number of jobs really varies a lot on people's caseloads, so we don't worry too much about that, but we do share sort of the, what's a typical average, so people have a ballpark on that. But if we have one position, employment consultant, they do both coaching and job development. That's worked well for us. We've tried different, separating that, different versions of that, and we've really found that if somebody loses a job, the person that knows them best is in a good position to help them find a new job. We definitely have people that gravitate more towards coaching and others that gravitate more towards development, so we try to adjust their caseloads accordingly. And then we just bring in a team of people, either pair people up or have a group of 3 that are focused on either the job development goal or the coaching goal, so that it's balancing what are people's strengths and the needs of the individuals we serve. Again, we keep people connected with their weekly team meetings, really encouraging people to reach out and ask for help so that they get what they really need. So a few things that we talked about, some of the ways we try to keep people connected. We have monthly check-ins with employment consultants and their program manager, just to set aside time to check in on where they're at towards the goals for each individual they serve. What kind of support do they need? How are they doing? How can the manager best support them? So it's an accountability conversation as well as an opportunity to see where folks are at and where they might need extra training or support. We've also done lunch buddies or different meetup things we've tried, because again, if you're working pretty independently with your caseload, you might not see your coworkers, and so we have to be really intentional about getting people together. What has helped with our cohesiveness with our teams is just really intentional time together with weekly meetings, with retreats, with whether it's going out and volunteering together, or the lunch buddies is like 3 individuals. It rotates, the schedule rotates, but people across different teams, so that you set aside time to grab lunch or grab coffee and just compare notes, talk about what we're doing, and stay connected. That's really one of the things that's most important to the team. And then they're in a better position to help each other brainstorm and fill in for shifts and things like that. We also have job coach seconds. So if we have one person that is the main employment consultant, we have another person that also knows the person that's cross-trained, so they're able to fill in as needed, as well as be a resource if they need more support, another pair of eyes to check out things and see where things are going. We've also, from a technology standpoint, we've used Twitter in the past. We sort of had a closed Twitter group among our team, and then we would send out tweets to each other. So sometimes it's, hey, there's a job fair. It was, actually really good. Come check it out. Here's the location. It often ended up being traffic updates. So, but it was, just a quick way for people to communicate. We also have Chatter within Salesforce, and I'll show you how we use Salesforce as a communication tool and a data tracking tool. But Chatter is sort of like a business Facebook within Salesforce that is a way to just share information in an informal way. And those tools also give us schedule reports of information. So our team gets a once-a-week email that's automatically generated through Salesforce that shows new businesses that have been entered and visited within that week. So we can share information across the entire team of who's going where. Where is the job development activity happening, so we can avoid doubling up and having somebody else go in there when somebody else has already been there. And if somebody's interested in that business, they can go talk to that person, get in more information, and maybe they can partner up around that. New job emails, we always do Friday, New Job Friday, share all the new jobs that are coming out as well as the career advancement positions. There's automatic emails that come out once a month about people's service plans that are coming due within the month, and that's also one that's about when they're overdue, when the VR plans are coming due. And the management also gets reports on when people leave services, when people lose jobs, new jobs. So a lot of that is automatic, and we don't have to really think about it, but it's a way for us to share information. And as we have a decentralized community-based team, as well as a larger team, we don't lose track of what's happening, the activity of service, and the details that are occurring within that. So I'm going to flip back over to share screen so that I can show you a couple other things that we use. Day looks like. So it has a number of links within it that go to different pieces of information that they may need. It has our outcome summary to happen. What are the documentation requirements and that sort of thing. Other areas would be some service change. Somebody is going to write up a DVR plan. Our VR system, we've got these invoice examples that people can reference if it's their first time filling out a report, more information on the different types of services. And some things are just, or incident reports, obviously we want to have that protocol and form available and easy for people to find on the fly, even from their phone, without having to come back to the office or even make a phone call, really. So when annual paperwork, you get your scheduled email that tells you your paperwork is due. You can come in here and have a look and see what all needs to be done and have some clear directions on that. So it's really help people be more independent and remembering what the different things that they need to work on, depending on what phase somebody is in services. We've started to add different things like, technology, apps, tools, things like that. We also have a resources section. So anytime I'm sending out information, studies or resource websites for employers, people have an easy go-to to find that information. This has been very helpful. We also create a specific site since that has some of its own protocols and processes and just operates the same way. people can go through here and look at outcome summaries. They can look at contract requirements, examples and templates, things like that. Videos of our services for marketing purposes they could just pull up on their phone or an iPad and share when they're out and about. Doing some job development. So that is Google. And again, like for people doing their work in various locations, this helps us keep the information in one place and current and accessible. So it's been well received by the team. It's also, you can set up subscribe to page, and that option, anytime a manager changes anything within here, maybe there's a policy that changes, it's very easy. If you're subscribing to that page, you'll get an email and it'll show you exactly what the change was. So it's an easy way to communicate when changes have been made, even just across managers. So the next tool is Salesforce, which is a cloud-based platform that was designed for sales but really works well for supported employment. We have customized it a bit to work for case notes in our billing system, but the core of it is the basics of Salesforce, where it's both of our CRM and our billing system. So it's another way for people to have all the information they need at their fingertips, because there is a phone app for this as well. So people could go to the app, say they're filling in on a shift, they see an email that there's a coverage need, they're in that area, they can pull up on the app where that job is. It can link right to the directions to how to get there. They can pull up the attachment that has the job analysis. They can see who the boss is, get all the details for the position. So if somebody's filling in, it can be very helpful. If somebody is job developing, they can pull up on their phone who's the last person that was at Costco. You pull up Costco, and then you can find out if it's going to be a lead that you're gonna go in and pursue, or maybe you need to go check with a colleague that's been there recently and see where we're at with that activity. So this is just the home page. You can put three. Must have started a new click. There's not as many businesses on here yet, but it'll show kind of new businesses in the day. If I had a caseload, it would show my current caseload and current service hours, so you can kind of see where you're at. You know, are you providing services equitably across your caseload, that sort of thing. And then a dashboard that shows number of jobs. So we're at 87 right now. It also has tasks. I've got to follow up to go back to Safeway for job development. So this is what a contact looks like. So this is John Public, and he is somebody that is in services. And it'll have his information that we need for services, what kind of waiver he has, what service category, status of service, seeking employment, currently employed. This one's listed as file closed. And the authorized service hours, he has all those different requirements based off of the region that we're in. If he leaves services, we'll have information on why he left, and then we can summarize that information. Everything's very reportable here. We can request different service hours, so we are doing our tracking here of people's service hours. So this is a place for information for the whole team to access, from the manager to the employment consultant to folks that are maybe filling in for somebody. So here's some open activities. Since his file was closed, it has some automatic follow-up flags for termination follow-up to meet our CARF requirements. And then here were some job development follow-ups that were based off of entering a job development case note. And John has a job at Boeing, and so we have jobs listed as opportunities here just to meet the Salesforce area. So this would give all the information about his job. making it easy for anybody to access this information, or, as we have turnover, everything is housed in one central place, and it's easier for somebody to pick up and get started with the information. What kind of position, what kind of benefits, wage and hours, history, entering in supervisors, and attaching to that. We also have been linking our surveys, so as we've been doing satisfaction surveys, that information can be shared there. And so if we're providing community access, providing a case note, we're entering in, maybe we had 2 hours of service. It was job development. It defaulted some information here. And I'm going to follow up with the Mariners. And I'm going to follow up in a week. They said call back in a week. So then this will show up as a follow-up flag for me on my homepage. So I can just, it helps with the workflow tracking of what we need to be working on. So makes it sort of easy to know that you need to follow up on that. And then that rolls into a case note. I just entered that case note right here, and marketing 2 hours. At the end of the month, those will roll up into a billing. And then this billing sheet, it automatically sums up the service hours from the case notes. And then you just have to, you can enter in some notes. If there's a new job, you can share new job information and hit save, and you'll have your billing report. So that's really helped get information that is both, done daily, so the data is in real time, but also more accurate too. We're not doing the math by hand or anything like that. It's just every day people enter in their case notes, and that information then rolls into the monthly billing. So you can see here I've got my task, my follow-up flag to check back with the Mariners in a week. And then when I'm done with that, I can just click on this, and then it'll be done. So as far as the collaboration that people do when they are out in the field, this information here, we've got a red light, green light, yellow light system. So these are our green light businesses. So those are businesses that consultants have gone to that business, met with them, talked to them, but it doesn't meet the needs of anybody on their caseload. So it's a green light, meaning go ahead and their colleagues can go into that business without checking in with them first. A yellow light might mean yes, it's an open opportunity, but check in with the account owner or the previous consultant first, because maybe they want to introduce you or provide you with additional information that will help you be successful with that follow-up call. And then red lights are ones where a consultant is actively working on a job lead, so they prefer you not to go into that business or check in with them because maybe they're developing a couple new positions, and they want to make sure we all look like we are working on the same team and know where each other are going. So I can certainly remember a time where I walked into a Costco and the follow-up was, oh yeah, somebody from your agency was in here earlier today. And it just didn't make us look that professional, like we were organized in our job development activity. So now the practice is I would double check on my phone or do some pre-planning and make sure the businesses I'm going into are green or yellow and are available to check in. Other ways to look at businesses, maybe you want to look at all businesses in Bellevue and then maybe organize them by type of vendor, high opportunity. So we have high, medium, low opportunities. So this one isn't showing up right now, but that would show you things where high probability it'll turn into a job. These are all Seattle positions, and then they're organized by type. So you can see what kind of business it is and organize and filter what you want to look at based off of that. So it's been great. We've got thousands of businesses in here, and again, if you have turnover of staff, it's a way to really have information not get lost and not be reliant on people's individual business cards. We can follow up in a way that says, I know you talked to Joe last month, and I'm here to follow up on behalf of Provail and this job candidate, that sort of thing. It helps with that. And then all the information that's entered rolls into some dashboard reports. Obviously, it helps keep the main thing in terms of looking at your jobs and increasing hours. How are we doing on some of those goals? And then there's a management dashboard that is helpful for just having an at-a-glance people at with their service hours, and some of these have good reasons that they're lower. But you can sort of see, are people on track? And you can see that at a glance. And these show by service category, how are people doing on the type of work they're doing? How much coaching, for example, this orange is job coaching. We've got over 75% of the people we serve are employed. So of course we're going to have lots of job coaching going on. But I know I've seen in the past, as we've moved more from community access non-employment services to all employment services, where we've had discovery job prep, the blue, being a huge portion of people's time. Lots of volunteering for long periods of time, not moving into a job goal and job development. And so if we're seeing our job numbers dip and we see we're spending maybe a little too much time in discovery job prep and we really should have a higher amount of green showing our marketing and job development, we can see those trends at a glance and say, okay, what do we need to do here? Do we need to do more training around that? Is it more around goal planning, or kind of dig into what the challenge or what the issue might be there? So we also have just all of our outcome reports and monthly, different things that we're sharing can be on a report. Our wage and hours advancement are easy to find here. Breakdown by individual staff on the team, office jobs by city. We can have a look at what kind of businesses are we going to and where are those opportunities. So that is kind of Salesforce at a glance. There's a number of different database tools that are out there, but I think this has been a real key to us providing cohesive services with a large number of people across 2 counties and a wide geographical area. We have 2 offices and, again, people working out in the field every day. So from here, I'm just going to jump over to a couple other things. We have our overall outcome plan with goals of, with our outcome statements, our indicators, and our targets for the year. And so everybody gets that, as you saw in the beginning of a training, module 1, and working towards the same end, same targets. And then from there, we have moved to having regional team action plans on how we're going to get there. So we have the overarching goals, and then each of our regional teams, these are the North Stars because they're in the northern county, they have their goal of 15% increase in hours, and then the different action steps, person responsible, action plan for their team. And then some clarification on some of the key points that they're working on. So that's an example of the North Stars team goal planning, and then they bring that up in their weekly meetings and talk about that and keep brainstorming how to get towards that goal. This is an example from our East Side team, and they have their goals and action steps as well. And what they did is had, in a planning meeting, look at what is their strength and what is their contribution towards those goals just for their small team, and how are they going to work together to get to that? What unique characteristics did they bring to it? So they each made personal commitments, each employment consultant from that team, of what were they going to do to help reach those goals for the team. So it led to some interesting conversations. It even led to maybe adding a new position, a new role, and a lot of ownership in what we were trying to accomplish as a team. So this is an example of, they called it the hot JD list. And so we have our school to work teams. One of our school districts, we have 3 full-time employment consultants working with over 20 students and helping them find jobs by June. And so they often get together and collaborate on job development, brainstorm, share job leads, and try to take it as an all for one for all approach, rather than each going to, I have these 8 students and that's all I'm going to work on. So this just outlines, like, kind of blurred out the student names here, but by each student, what kind of job are they pursuing, what area do they want to work in, what are their desired hours and types of tasks and types of jobs, and any specific information that you might need to know about them. And then where are the current businesses that we're working on? What are some of the places, which employment consultant is responsible for that, and what's the status, where are we working? I know they just had a follow-up meeting on Friday, and we're really doing some joint job development. And this is the kind of thing, that collaboration, that makes it super fun for people to feel connected with each other, have a purpose for gathering, and really spikes the outcomes we're able to produce for individuals. Particularly where this is a smaller community, even though it's a large school district, the business district is not that large, and so you can step on toes, and it's really important to be coordinated. And this is another example of, we had the career advancement goal, and another team decided to have other consultants come in and be in shadow and be another set of eyes and look for other task ideas that could help increase people's work hours, ways the person can be more independent and therefore might have more opportunities to add hours. And so we had, and again, I blurred the person here, but where they're working, what their schedule is, and then different consultants signed up to go out and visit those jobs. And then they came back and had suggested some new ideas, some new tasks, and see where that went. And again, all 4 teams have already met their goal. The goal was by the end of June, but all 4 teams have increased hours worked by 15%. And it really helped look at how we're doing business differently and how we can work together differently to get better outcomes. Okay. And also, I know I've talked a lot about collaboration, but we also have looked at our collaboration across our agency. So really learning from our other areas and disciplines within the field that I think has helped us be stronger when we partner with other agencies too. So we've had some gatherings to better understand a day in the life of employment, community living, and our clinical services. So I shared some of these collaboration tools. I sort of condensed that together so it was easier to flow between the shared screen. But I like this. You probably want to do something interesting. Let me get out of your way. And I really love that because it's a job where we want people to be empowered to be successful in the community, to make their own. We sort of try to lay the foundation for the values we have and offer people tools and strategies of how to get there. But I think the more that we get out of the way and let people be creative and try new things, we've seen some, some things are happening that never would have happened if it was just, my ideas or other managers' ideas. This is just some of the pictures of, gathering input from the team, a planning retreat we had. And the more we're collaborating with those different ideas, I think really, that whole lean concept of standing in the circle, where the people that are out in the field at the job sites talking with employers, they know best what is going to work for them to do their job the best way possible. And so really needing as much input from the team at all times and really letting them chart the course. So some of our outside stakeholders have been really strong partners for us in terms of being successful as community-based service providers. We have a statewide Community Employment Alliance that gathers around legislative issues and advocates for the services that we need, as well as information exchange on best practices. Same goes for our APSE chapter. We've also had different collaboration projects, what we've called the C3 project, that started after that Alderbrook event in 2007 that was mentioned earlier with David Mank. And one of the ideas that came out of that was, let's just pick a few job candidates, a few people that we serve that we just haven't been successful. We know they want to work, we just haven't been able to figure it out. Let's get a few heads together. So we have 3 agencies across multiple counties, and we each picked 5 job candidates. And we had a pilot where we were able to have those 3 employment consultants across those 3 agencies focus in on job development for those 5 folks, using customized employment practices and brainstorming across agencies. So they met job candidates across agencies after getting all the permissions and information was shared about what we were doing. And they all had joint job development opportunities. They met at least monthly, and it was very much an exercise in the importance of accountability, as well as a shared vision and an accountability to each other. So those meetings would start with, okay, here's what we said we were going to do the last time we met. How did we do? And do report backs on that. So we were not only accountable to the 5 people we serve, but we were also accountable to those other 10 folks, those other 2 agencies. And we ended up getting 15 of 15 jobs. And they were folks that had been considered, unemployable through the VR system in the past. They had been volunteering or not really succeeding on their employment path for sure. So we really saw the power of that joint accountability, that shared vision, and collaboration. So that is a project that has gone 3 different iterations with multiple candidates and has continued to have a high success rate. And we also have had that branch into transition services, so working with students coming out of school and working across agencies. And those are for folks that hadn't been accessing services in the past, classrooms that hadn't really been getting employment vendors involved, and moving from a 12-month to an 18-month process that also brought in outside consultants for behavior support, communication, assistive technology support, things like that. So that's been an external collaboration that has been really helpful for us. And then other just various connections with other agencies and systems and business collaboration. So this shows we had supported employment Olympics that I shared with the folks at RTR, but just getting together to have a good time, get to know each other so that we work well together. We play Trillium, we play Northwest Center. We've had a lot of fun with that. And Provail won in bowling, and Northwest Center won in volleyball. So next I think we're doing trivia. But it's been a great way for us to get to know each other across agencies so that some of those ideas get sparked for things such as that C3 project, just by talking and saying, hey, what if? What if we tried to do X? So I just want to open it up for questions. Anything that you have questions about or like me to talk more about?
Thanks, Gina. This is Jess. As we give folks a minute to see if they have any questions or comments, I was wondering in relation to the Salesforce platform, I know you talked about teams using it that are working across 2 counties or like a wide geographical area. What are your thoughts about if a number of different agencies used a platform like that are sharing like a large geographical area or working within what we call counties or regions here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
What that might look like.
Yeah, I think that's completely doable, and I think there's a way to use a tool like that that blocks off fields for privacy from agencies, but then also opens up some information for a community of practice approach that has some shared information. I was talking with a Salesforce consultant that worked with a number of uh, low-income housing organizations, and they built Salesforce as a community of practice approach to have a shared way of doing business, but then also being able to share data.
Nice. And then in relation to the C3 project, you called it like an ongoing pilot. So is there any financial support, or what does that look like so that the agencies can partner together? I'm assuming the folks working on the pilot also maintain other caseloads besides the 5 pilot job seekers. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. So the initial pilot was we pitched that as we want to try something a little different, and we had 1 FTE funded for that, so that per agency. So we had some time to try some things out and see how it went and see what kind of recommendations came from that. But then after that, we just used existing service model. Which was that people, if they had a VR plan, for example, or they had, for us it's a county DD system, we did blend the funding for a couple of times where we would get paid monthly, and then we would get when we got a successful outcome, the county was reimbursed by VR for some of those services. So when we're working with folks that typically, don't work really well within the time constraints of VR, where at least in Washington we've got a outcome-based system. We don't get paid until somebody gets a job, regardless of how long or how short that takes. So it was didn't work for everybody really well, and so by having blended funding, we were able to access 2 funding sources for those candidates for that project. So it turned into, from the pilot, into a specific contract with blended funding. So we did that where we committed to 1 year and a certain number of job candidates and 3 to 4 agencies. And once those individuals got jobs and that year was up, we would re-up the contract and do that again with new job candidates. And then it hit a point where the county decided that, well, this has kind of turned into business as usual. You don't need a special contract for this. And we decided, you're right. But we see the value in it, and we did it again, but just under standard funding models, VR plans, that kind of thing, but still had the same structure and the same commitment across agencies.
Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and switch to our closing page and open up the polls. I had one more question, Gina, about the partnering with the schools and that 85% jobs by June success rate. And you had mentioned that there were districts and schools that you guys were working with or attempting to work with that wouldn't have necessarily been working with employment vendors. Can you give us any tips on how you got into those schools or what helped develop those relationships that didn't previously exist?
Yeah, so we had support we've got a school-to-work coordinator through our county system. That's where our employment contracts lie with the counties. And they helped with some of that outreach to the schools. And we were able to say we've had success with this model with the number of students and had any referrals from your particular program, and then bringing other teachers on board. And then other teachers saying, hey, it's hard for me to get an employment provider in here, but I've got students that are graduating, and I know that they could benefit from employment services. So then they were seeking us out and the county out to figure out something different. And so they're typically, some of those students that hadn't been served would be in something that might have been called more of a life skills oriented class, but they're still eligible for services, and us as providers are really willing to work with the students. But a lot of what we're doing with referrals is just taking the phone calls from the families that are reaching out. But we really that there are students that the families weren't even getting the information to reach out to us. So just kind of taking a deeper dive to get connected.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like some similarities then between Washington and Iowa. And those are great tips. Well, thank you so much, Gina, for a great presentation and a lot of great information and tools. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I will be sure to send out the recording and the closed captioning transcript, and then also Gina's going to share with me a presentation that can be shared with the group, and that includes some of the links and tools that she shared, and I wrote some of those down so I can be sure to include those in the email that I send out for you guys. So we appreciate you joining us, and we hope that you come back in April. We will be hearing from Gail Fanjoy on the 19th of April on Community Integrated Services, DAHAB and Employment, and Community Mapping, identifying meaningful activities, strategies, and management of an array of individualized services. And Gail is coming to us out of KFI in Maine. She's a subject matter expert with ODEP, so that'll be great to have her. So thanks again for joining us. Have a great rest of the afternoon, and thank you again, Gina.
Thank you.
Have a good one.